This week on the show, it's year's end, which means we have to talk about all the best stuff of all the best stuff. Plus, there's a big director making waves this week, and Bruno's ready to fight him. Bruno, do the other thing, not the fighting thing.
Don't fight him.
It's time for Nerd It Here Weekly.
We're wearing sunglasses. Hit it.
It's better not awaken anything in me.
The name's Bond. James Bond.
Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb.
I'm responsible for my own happiness. I can't even be responsible for my own breakfast.
We have Santa Claus. Assemble.
Welcome to Nerd It Here Weekly, a weekly podcast about the week's biggest stories in nerdy news. I'm Riley Trahan, Senior Entertainment Editor at Nerd It Here First, and as always, I am joined by my co-host, Deepak Chitness.
Sup?
Bruno Meneses.
How are you doing?
And owner of that big scary sculpture outside the Game Awards, it's Jackson Trahan.
That's true. I mean, I like to talk about it a lot, but I don't often mention that I have a financial stake in the Game Awards.
Seems
Deepak,
like a disclosure worth making.
Deepak, do you know about the big scary sculpture?
No, should I?
So there is a sculpture.
Is this the Mario thing that was stolen a few years ago?
No. Jack, why don't you explain? There's the Game Awards, as everybody knows, are coming up soon, and so all the production stuff is being moved into place. And it's not just an award show. There's going to be like a whole, kind of.
Some would say it's barely an award show.
There's going to be a whole activation around the awards in the, in and around that part of town. And
is activation like a euphemism for nude women, or
no? It's a euphemism for nude capitalism,
on the record,
if anything.
Not. I see. Okay.
But so there's all sorts of game promotion stuff popping up, and like the way that you might be in the parking lot of a football game and have someone handing out a Pepsi Cola, right? They're going to be just bands and bands of people related to different companies and games and stuff, just trying to get your attention outside and around the awards, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
guerrilla advertising.
Indeed. So one of the things that is already there is a very big, tall, scary sculpture, and nobody knows what it is, what game it's related to.
Big demon,
why
like in
it's
the middle
there.
of the desert.
Maybe now that I've vamped long enough, maybe somebody else can drop an image of it into our video chat here while we're doing the show, so that Deepak can get a look at what it looks like. But it's just been a whole running thing here where people are trying to guess what game it could be, and now games are like out actively denying that they have anything to do with the Game Awards statue.
Yeah, here she is.
It's great that you're gendering it. So we know it's
not Elder Scrolls 6, it's not Diablo, It's not God of War.
Correct.
Oh, yeah,
you know what this looks like? Has anyone seen the theatrical poster for Alien Covenant?
Yeah, you're bang on. You're looking at the right thing. Yeah, exactly. Yes. Yeah. So anyway, I'm just trying to get a rumor going that it's Jax. This week on our website, thehumblenihf.com. What a cool site where beautiful people hang out. I am talking to KB about the new film Wake Up Dead Man, which I have seen, and it is good. Maybe we'll do a little chatter about that later. I don't know. If you want a ton of chatter about it, head over to KB and I talking about it at NIHF.com or youtube.com/@NerdItHereFirst. Also, I thought when that movie pops on Netflix, I thought maybe this crew could circle up for like a, I don't know that this is the last Benoit Blanc story, but 3 is probably a point where Netflix executives are looking at their books or whatever. So I just thought maybe we could circle up for like a best of Benoit. We could all do like our favorite overly forced metaphor, our favorite, high profile movie star like appearance. We could go through all the Knives Out stuff and talk about over the course of the 3 of them. What did we like? What stood out? What did we enjoy? We could have Deepak geek out about how progressively more beautiful Daniel Craig has become the older he's gotten.
I was about to say, I think they'll make a 4th one, but we still have to go through the phase of Daniel Craig threatening to cut his wrists first.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we're now in the phase of Benoit Blanc where he's like, I refuse to do any more of these, goddammit.
Yeah.
I already have a pick for my favorite overly forced metaphor because I genuinely think about it daily ever since watching Glass Onion, and it makes me laugh every time I think about it.
Glass Onion might have the best celebrity cameo also.
If you don't want to miss our picks for all of these, because clearly I have already started something, head over to nihf.com. And when you get our little pop-up that asks if you want to be a part of the community, type in your email address and hit subscribe so you don't miss our talking about all the Blancs Benoit. All right, let's get into the news. First up, some tragic news this week as we learned that Doomsday will not happen. We had previous unless we believe in our hearts.
No,
Jackson,
they
talk
both
to me
get
about it.
pushed back.
Oh, maybe they both get moved. Well, so originally what had happened, longtime enjoyers of Dune gossip may recall that Dune Part 3 had Dune Part 3 had originally
Sandworms.
staked out its weekend. I'm kind of browse the December 18th, 2026. And Avengers Doomsday, having had some troubles, as you may have heard, got delayed to December. I was very adamant at the time that Dune Part 3 should not move, that I wanted them to like really stick it out. They were there first. I don't care who Robert Downey Jr. thinks he is. This was Chalamet's spot, but ultimately Dune Part 3 has moved up sooner, which I thought was a cool aggro move. They're now going to get an October release date, I think, Deepak.
So
is that right?
nothing is confirmed, but they are tracking towards debuting the film at Venice, which will be in September. So the thought is it's a Venice premiere followed by the wide release and the rollout internationally within about a month of that. So that could be early October, which is in the past has been a Warner Brother release date that they've used for example, Argo, The Departed, movies that have gone on to do very well at the Academy Awards.
Deepak, does anybody, and I'm not just saying on this show, I'm saying in the world, other than us, care about like the weird corporate politics of maneuvering your release dates around? I find it fascinating. I think it's excited.
I mean, I'm sure there are people in the town that are caring about this, but I think the bigger takeaway here is that Disney, since 2015 with Force Awakens, has laid claim to that December release date for Star Wars and now Avatar, and now they're going to use it for Avengers. And I think this is the studio's recognition of we're not going to step on Disney's toes here.
And there's an interesting sort of like, respect that has to exist between studios in those sorts of ways.
Well, it's the rising tide lifting all boats, right? So you could go for the Barbenheimer thing, but Barbenheimer worked because it was counter-programming. You're probably running into a lot of the same demographic for both those movies here.
Fair enough. All right. Next up,
like 7 hours of movie.
It would be a big movie day for everybody for sure. Yeah.
What would you do first?
What would I do? I would do Doomsday because I know what happens in Dune Messiah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and maybe that's why Dune Messiah.
Well, Doomsday is the start and Dune is a closing. I think maybe that's where.
Oh, that's also fair. Yeah, if I'm doing them back to back.
I usually leave best for last, and regardless of how much hope I have for Doomsday, I do think Dune Messiah would be the better movie, so I would be leaving that second.
I think that's completely fair.
Yeah.
All right. Speaking of saving the best for last, love that in the roundup this week we are discussing the fact that the Mad Men redefinition, the upgrade, the high res, the remastering,
streaming.
It was the 4K went up on HBO Max, and the recently renamed HBO Max. Have you heard? And it's
what
guys.
It's name.
They goofed it so hard. You can see all sorts of stuff you're not supposed to see in this dang Mad Men. For example, when Roger Sterling does his great big oyster vomit, you can see the guys working the vomit machine, which is fun for me, a guy who loves Roger Sterling's oyster vomit, but is not fun for, let's say...
Who goes back to rewatch it every week.
Yeah, right. I know. I am deeply familiar with Roger Sterling's oyster vomit, so I'm getting a little behind the scenes peek, but I bet Matthew Weiner just punched some, I'm going to say, blonde lady in her 40s, based on what Mad Men's about, in the throat when he saw this. He must have flipped his lid.
I'm wondering if the other recent big HBO Max show that had similar issues was also caused by some sort of a remaster. We got like raw files instead of the finished files on the show with the Starbucks cup.
Oh, is that what happened there?
Yeah, I doubt.
Oh,
I think they were just sloppy. But,
Yeah, I think they just didn't lift that out. But Alan Sepinwall, the very great television critic Alan Sepinwall, wrote a blog post about the Mad Men vomit situation over on his blog on Wired.com. And I was browsing through it, and he had gone through just sort of the way that this problem like plagues the industry, right? We all remember like when the Simpsons came to Disney Plus and its aspect ratio was wrong and like all the jokes were cut out and stuff. What you guys might not be as aware of is the Buffy the Vampire Slayer remaster that when it got re-released like had the same sorts of like guys holding microphones off stage and stuff because it got put out in the wrong aspect ratio. It's this weird sort of thing that happens when like the art crosses over with the commerce in a way that like the commerce people take over and like they're not maybe paying attention as much to the art of it.
They
And
don't.
it just gets
They don't have the knowledge. It's not even just like the technical knowledge. It's the history of the show and the creative intent. So recently, Curb Your Enthusiasm came out on Warner Brothers put out for HBO the Blu-ray set of Curb Your Enthusiasm, the entire 12 seasons. The problem is that if you buy the DVD, you get seasons 1 through 6 in the 4:3 aspect ratio that they were initially shot in. And more than that, you get them in. They were shot in a very weird, like high definition tape at like 30 interlaced frames per second. When they did the remaster over to Blu-ray in high definition, they not only cropped it down to 16:9, but whatever algorithm they used to remaster that interlaced video into HD made the quality even worse. So with Curb Your Enthusiasm, you're actually better off buying DVDs than Blu-rays.
Damn.
But this is the exact sort of thing. See, for me, Deepak, I just bought the I think it's the 4K Blu-rays of I Love Lucy. But there clearly was like an AI upres or something like that. And we've had this with other stuff, right? That James Cameron stuff was kind of sloppy. My copy of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I have a 4K of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles.
It's one of the worst discs on the market.
Awful looking.
Yeah.
Steve Martin looks like he's just walked out of Madame Tussauds. It looks so weird.
And the man has aged quite gracefully. They didn't need to do this to him.
But this I Love Lucy box that I have, it's the entire series of I Love Lucy, and they upresed it with 4K. And some of the stuff does look very cool. I will never, for the life of me, understand why people want to watch the artificially colorized black and white of anything. That's just not my jam. But the black and white stuff, some of it I do think looks really nice, and some of it is stuff I'm really familiar with. I've watched Lucy from the time I was a little kid. But every once in a while you'll get like a face in the background that the AI honed in on that is like in focus now, and you can just sort of like catch it funny, and it's like in a field of not in focus.
Why am I looking at this?
Right, and you're like, oh Jesus, like it's not perfect by any stretch of the imagination.
But this also goes back to the quality control that should be happening at these companies, but either people are being worked to the bone, or they just don't have people working on this. That it's just getting through. AI will take care of it, and we'll rely on the consumer to tell us what's wrong. If we think it's a big enough deal, we'll issue a new disc or replacement, whatever. But it's probably not.
I continue to be appalled about people just like leaning on AI so much. Like,
buckle in, buddy.
I know. Listen, I'm in denial, but I guess. But oh well.
Well, fortunately, our next story in the roundup is perfectly well timed to bring all of our spirits up a little bit, because it turns out that your favorite guy and mine, Hideo Kojima, is going to be voicing the Josh Gad role as a weird little mole that works at the DMV or whatever in Zootopia 2. Jack, I go to you.
The Japanese version.
The Japanese dub, yes, indeed. He said that he was, I think, delighted to take the role. Jack, I go to you for the details on all this. I assume you're my expert here.
Yeah, I am probably the biggest Kojima head, and I was delighted to see us drop this article earlier in the week. Let me see if I can get his exact
Supposedly,
quote.
the first Zootopia is his
enthusiastic.
favorite movie, Disney movie.
First what now, Deepak?
He said the first Zootopia is his favorite Disney movie.
Okay, so while Jack tries to find this quote, I'm going to try and out loud think about why Zootopia. Well, he does have, I think, an interest in sort of like the way that we're like forced to engage with the military state, and like how that like sort of I think that's big for him. So maybe I understand why you would think that's big for him.
He does.
I get why that's big for him. I'm struggling as to where that.
That's what Zootopia is about, right? Like it's about this bunny who's like.
But isn't it? There's something about predators reverting to being predators.
Mm-hmm.
No. I'm just saying, like, he's really into like the way that, like, if you want to live a happy life, you sort of have to go along with like maybe the militarization that like exists in the like governmental structures, right? So like,
yeah,
like
that
like
I
the
can
bunny,
understand.
the bunny sort of has to like get on board with like the
This is the way
carnivore
things
of
work
life.
here.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, Jack, you got this quote from Kojima about doing a possum.
Well, of
Voicing a possum, Jesus God.
Zootopia 1, he said, quote, "It was a Disney animation that reached a certain pinnacle, one where social themes are subtly woven in, where everyone from adults to children could laugh and enjoy themselves and leave the theater feeling hopeful." He also said, "Based on the recording session, I'm absolutely convinced this will be a new Zootopia that surpasses the original," which I'm sure he was told to say. And he said, "I only participated in a few scenes, but in my time recording, production was truly impressive. Blah, 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 blah." There it is. "I was incredibly honored and accepted without hesitation." So
yeah, I like the idea of accepted without hesitation. Just they called
like,
Bob Iger or whoever called him up and was like, "Hideo, we want you to do that," and he's like, "Yes."
I do find it interesting that he says this is his first voiceover role, as he has appeared in several of his video games, most famously and most often as Hideo Kojima. But this is certainly his first time in a feature animated film, I believe.
Well, and Deepak, I don't know how much. I know that you have heard us talk about Hideo Kojima before.
I know who he is, and I know his importance, and I like his little
him by
movie reviews.
Right.
Do you know, though, and this is my question, do you know that his sort of seminal auteur franchise right now, Death Stranding,
has
features
that on the beach thing?
Well, it features the at least visual likenesses of Guillermo del Toro,
Leah Seydoux and Norman Reedus, and
Mad Max. What's I'm the
Tom
director
Hardy?
of the Mad Max.
Oh,
films.
George Miller. Yeah.
George Miller's in it. He famously said that he was disappointed he couldn't get David Lynch. Like, he's a weird director. Like, he is a big fan of film, clearly. I mean, yeah, you've said.
I like the way that I couldn't get David Lynch. Yeah, no one can.
Yeah, right. Well,
hey.
Circumstances conspired against him.
Right.
But he clearly really
just
likes
couldn't get a hold
movies and has tried to work a lot of those guys into his games. So
Set up so many traps.
We'll watch his career with how's Palpatine say it?
We will be watching your career with great interest, young Skywalker.
There we go. All right, next in the roundup. Speaking of watching with great interest, young Skywalker, DiCaprio confirms his involvement in Heat 2. This is following up on a story we covered on a previous week's episode where we heard rumors buzzing around Hollywood that Leonardo DiCaprio was involved with the sequel to Heat. And it turns out now that he is, although we don't know what role he's going to play. Does anybody sort of have any thoughts on how this will impact the film or how we might see Leo folding into the world of Heat?
If the rumor that he is being cast opposite Christian Bale is true, I kind of see either of them being able to play either part. I think I want Bale playing Bale playing De Niro and DiCaprio playing Pacino, but I could just as easily see it go the other way. The only bit of casting that it's a rumor, nothing has been confirmed, but it's the only one that has kind of hovered over everything and feels right is Austin Butler playing the Val Kilmer role, because this is going to, at some point, at least part of it, go back in time, so he's still alive. Well, he lives at the end of the movie, too, I guess. He kind of just... She signals to him and he drives off, right? That's how his story ends.
Right. It's there are other characters we'd be worried about if this was a sequel because
De
Niro,
of course.
Yeah, right. Yeah. But no, I could totally see the Kilmer character coming back. I think that'd be fine.
Yeah. And Austin Butler, who's everyone's favorite actor now, and we'll talk more about that later, I guess, too.
Yeah, well, I know somebody who would be so excited to see Austin Butler in a film.
Yeah.
This would be the first time for Leo DiCaprio and Christian Bale together in a film, right?
Correct. Yeah. Because Christian Bale famously did not play the Riddler in The Dark Knight Rises.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I actually remember they famously have passed up roles for each other pretty much.
Well,
It was Steve Jobs. That was the big one.
And they
Wasn't it
also both
American
started
Psycho?
working. They both started working very young,
Mhm.
right? So,
Right.
well, Christian Bale is in American Psycho, Bruno.
No, I mean like.
But
Oh,
Leonardo
you mean like
DiCaprio is
Leo?
not.
Leo DiCaprio was
DiCaprio.
originally in the role, and then it went.
Some of that stuff I think is you might be absolutely right. What I always think about that stuff, like anytime I read it, is it's sort of like I'm sure every role for a certain number of years was like offered Leonardo DiCaprio.
Yeah, especially
in a
after
certain way.
Titanic, he was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sometimes how I read some of that. But
They
yeah,
wanted
I
him
mean,
for Spider-Man. He said no to Spider-Man, so they asked him to play Mary Jane. It was the whole thing.
right, exactly. But yeah, we continue to sort of try and figure out what Heat 2 looks like. All right, Avatar, Fire and Ash, already a long movie, going to have some massive trailers in front of it. Apparently, it is going to be, for me, like going into surgery. I will just do no fluids after midnight the night before and hope to be able to make it through. Reusing a joke I used on the chat seemed to work well there. Why not redeploy here on the show?
The man's got a tiny bladder.
What am I? No, I'm going to do great. I'll be fine. It's y'all.
I'm gonna
I'm
have
worried.
some spicy food and turn it into fire and ass.
I'm gonna be on Pandora. The gravitational pull on my bladder is different there. What films am I going to be seeing before I disembark into the world of Avatar?
Film trailers? Looks like we are going to be confirmed to get the as yet untitled Steven Spielberg UFO movie, which is coming out next year. We're going to get the first look at that, and I assume we'll get some sort of a title for it.
Nope, 2.
There's also going to be.
Guys, I hope to God it's Night Skies.
Yeah.
My guess is that it's actually just going to be called UFO. The other thing we're going to get, there are conflicting reports as to what we're getting. We're either getting a new trailer or we're getting like an IMAX prologue the way he did for Dark Knight and Tenet and Dark Knight Rises. We're going to get some sort of a prologue for The Odyssey. The conflicting report comes because there was a mention that the full prologue, which apparently shows the sacking of Troy and the Trojan horse and all that leading up to the fall of Troy, that 6 to 8 minute long segment in its entirety will only be shown at 70 millimeter screenings of Sinners and One Battle After Another, which I think is currently, as of this recording, already being played at 70 millimeter locations across the country. So there will either be a condensed version of that with Avatar in IMAX screenings, or we'll get just a new trailer for it. There's also, of course,
a trailer for the prologue.
Trailer for the movie that we're going to see in like 9 months. There's, of course, also the high likelihood that we're going to get some sort of an announcement teaser for Doomsday. I would not expect it to show much other than perhaps the silhouette of Doom's mask or some such thing, and we'll get some sort of a roster breakdown of who's going to show up in it.
Now that we've gotten the toys out, I think it's real possible they could show Doom in the mask.
There was something this week that they had some sort of an event. I think, Riley, if you're able to bring that up, there was some kind of a Marvel or Disney event where they basically had to... Brazil, that's what it was.
That'll be
they
this
had
weekend,
divided
yeah.
up the teams of the movie into 4 distinct ones. So you have the core Avengers, which are led by Sam Wilson. Thor's on that. Loki is on that, which was a bit of a surprise. Shang-Chi, Ant-Man, among others. We have the new Avengers, which are the Thunderbolts. If you've seen that movie, you know who's on that team. We have the OG X-Men, who they've announced in the trailer, in the announcement at Comic-Con last year. So that's your Patrick Stewart, Ian McKellen, all the way down to Hank McCoy's back. What's his name? Kelsey Grammer, all that. Nightcrawler. And then the 4th team is, of course, the Fantastic Four. And if you don't know who's on that, I can't help you.
Real quickly before first I would love to hear of all that. What is and there's also, I guess, possible rumors about Spider-Man 4 and Supergirl, right? Which would be cool.
Spider-Man 4, yeah.
Spider-Man 4 maybe more likely. Supergirl
makes a lot of sense.
Question mark. But out of all of that stuff, what is everybody most excited for? Think more likely? Think less likely?
I actually heard something somewhere about the Supergirl trailer dropping this Sunday.
Oh.
Why Sunday?
Again, Supergirl's coming out pretty soon.
I'm not even sure like how much merit to hold to that, but like I just vaguely remember hearing that like literally today, as of this recording at least. The Supergirl trailer was being talked about dropping this Sunday.
It looks like people are saying it'll be again at CCXP Brazil.
Yes, that's what it is, because there is that it's like the Comic-Con equivalent of Brazil, and at least Disney has been known to announce a lot of stuff there. There has been a couple trailers that like came out there before it came out anywhere else.
There was a pre-recorded message that went out this afternoon in which James Gunn basically seemed to say that the Supergirl trailer will premiere tomorrow.
Oh,
there
So
we go.
they're trying to get out ahead of this Matthias Schoenaerts
Yeah.
going to jail thing.
So I guess that takes Supergirl out of the conversation. It might still be there,
Yeah,
but
I
it
guess
will have already been dropped.
What they may do is show it exclusively at CCXP this weekend, and then that same
and
trailer
then drop
will
the
then
actual
debut.
trailer on Avatar.
Mm-hmm.
at Avatar, yeah.
Exactly.
Jackson, what are you most excited to see more into? Get more information about out of those movies?
Supergirl would definitely be exciting. I admit this is when you guys started talking about this trailer was the first I'd heard of untitled Steven Spielberg UFO movie, but that would be fun. I don't know. I mean, it's all exciting. I was ready. I was disappointed on my last theater going experience by the lack of trailers, and I think I talked to you about it, Riley, and you explained.
We need to rejuice.
This is probably why. So yeah, I'm at the very least excited to get more variety back in my pre-show experience.
Mm-hmm.
Bruno, you want to talk about Night Skies for a second for anybody who doesn't know what you were hollering about?
So Night Skies is what eventually turned into ET way back in the day.
Kind of.
In a way.
Not even really. Yeah.
But
it's
the less cuddly alien
right.
story.
Yeah.
Right?
It was a concept that Spielberg developed that was like a very much a sci-fi horror movie about alien invasions that people pretty much didn't like, and so he took that concept, turned it into ET, and then people liked that, and that's what they ended up going for. So anytime I hear about Spielberg working on something UFO related, I immediately wonder if he is just like revisiting his Night Skies concept and trying to bring that back somehow.
Did his Night Skies concept
It's not like I'm sure he still has those ideas in his brain. He's the same guy. They might.
Well, I'm wondering how much of
now,
War of the Worlds incorporated those ideas.
Not that much, because like the whole issue about Night Skies and like why he hasn't revisited it in so long is because there were a lot of like close details to ET. Like his script for Night Skies, the way that it ends is technically how ET begins.
And also so imagine Night Skies is sort of like ET x Poltergeist.
Yes.
Like if you had sort of the vibe of Poltergeist with the idea,
which he also
like,
directed,
sort of
despite what most people will say.
We can have one day we will book. I would love for us to have an argument about whether or not Steven Spielberg directed Poltergeist. Not sure what I think about it one way or the other. Just that's why I would love to have it. But I do think if you want to talk about the complicated legacy of Night Skies, there's a 1996 TV show called Dark Skies that you could check out. That is basically the exact same premise. That was also then turned into a 2013 sci-fi film with a similar vibe of the same name. I would love it if this was Night Skies. I would also not maybe doubt the power of Steven Spielberg's producer capabilities to call an alien movie by Steven Spielberg Night Skies, regardless of whether or not it ever was. Right. But yeah, could be cool. Hey, before we move on from the roundup, and I know this is unconventional, but I wanted to just call an audible here real quick. While I was on World of Real reading the story about the trailer stuff, I saw this article on the Rail headline: Brady Corbet confirms untitled 4-hour Western will be X-rated, shot in 70 millimeters, and filming next summer.
Yeah, let's see that.
Brady Corbet, of course, the Oscar-winning director. Sorry, not Oscar. Did he win?
No, it was
nominated.
No.
The Oscar-nominated director of The Brutalist.
Nora won. Yeah.
Yes.
He has a co-writing credit on the upcoming Testament of Ann Lee, which is on my watch list.
Yes, with Amanda Seyfried.
Yeah.
So anyway, apparently he is headed out into the desert with a bunch of 70 millimeter cameras to shoot an untitled original Western that's going to be NC-17, or as he said, X-rated. That's going to be inspired by 70 millimeter classics such as Texas Chainsaw Massacre, but it won't be a horror movie. I'm going to give you the full quote here, and then I'm going to have a question for you on the other side. Quote, "It's true that the film is an X-rated movie, and it's true that it takes place mostly in the 1970s, but the film spans from the 19th century to the present day. It's just predominantly focused on the 70s. The film is really, really genre defined, but it was, He said the film is really, really genre defined, just to be clear on that word I'm hitting. But it was reported that the movie has something to do with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which is not true at all. That is just inaccurate. I think that the reason that was misconstrued is because I was talking about making a film that's set in the 1970s. So anyway, my question is, do you guys think Kevin Costner just hit the fucking roof or what?
I want to know who he's casting in this, because he's all ready to go.
No one. He's gonna find all natural cowboys.
Well, first of all, I think the reason
them
people thought
documentaries.
of Texas Chainsaw Massacre is because he said X and 1970s, and people are thinking of whatever his face is, Ty.
Yeah, no, like I'm immediately thinking of Nia Goth. I'm sorry, but I am.
All right, cool. Sorry, I just really wanted to make that Costner joke. We will take a quick break, and when we get back, we are going to talk about a list Quentin Tarantino put out that everybody was real chill about.
It's going to be the most commercially viable movie of next year, whenever it comes out.
Where did you put that list again?
I dropped it
in the doc.
I had to manually press enter for each of them.
Where's the doc?
I appreciate you.
Oh, Docs
On Google Docs.
Shut up, Jack.
You asked the question.
Where's the doc?
I had already figured it out.
Jingle, jingle, and we're back. Haven't acknowledged my Christmas sweater yet.
It's a good sweater.
It's not the sweater I'm looking for.
I'm going to have... Hey, no, make sure you don't miss any of my... Don't move along yet. You don't want to miss any of my Christmas-themed nerdy outerwear. Subscribe, nihf.com. or youtube.com/@nerdherefirst. Anyway, Quentin Tarantino put out a list this week and also a little bit in a previous week. It was a combination effort in which he listed his top 20 movies since 2000. This was partially inspired by a similar effort going on at The Ringer, a website that Tarantino is loosely sort of adjacent to.
He and Fennessy are boys, I think.
Yeah, he's friends with Sean Fennessy. I don't know why I was like alluding to.
Yeah, I don't think I'm writing it. Yeah.
Right, yeah, making it sound like it was weirder than that. Reportedly, he's friends with Sean Fennessy. I don't know, like I don't have a source on that. I've just heard that on the internet or whatever. Anyway, here's the list.
Fennessy
I'm going to run through it.
But anyway,
okay, I don't watch his show enough.
Neither do I. I read it. Whatever.
Okay, perfect, great. Hey, they're friends, and if anybody tells you otherwise, they're liars.
They're Rick and Cliff, all right?
Sean Fennessy's trying to cover up his friends.
They're Travolta and Jackson.
20-1. Here we go. West Side Story, Cabin Fever, Moneyball, Chocolat, The Devil's Rejects.
It's not Chocolat.
Well, I like this.
Chocolat is a different movie.
Bruno, cut it here. 20-1. Here we go. West Side Story, Cabin Fever, Moneyball, Chocolate, The Devil's Rejects, The Passion of the Christ, School of Rock, Jackass: The Movie, Big Bad Wolves, Battle Royale, Midnight in Paris, Shaun of the Dead, Mad Max Fury Road, Unstoppable, Zodiac. We're in the top 5 now. Number 5, There Will Be Blood. Number 4, Dunkirk. Number 3, Lost in Translation. Number 2, Toy Story 3. And number 1, Black Hawk Down. A lot of attention drawn to the Toy Story 3 of it all. I, of course, had beef with his number 1 film being a George W. Bush propaganda film. Let's get into the list. Who wants to start?
Oh, can I go first?
Yeah, of course.
Okay. I mean, wait, maybe before we just backed into it, I will say this.
Well, I was going to start with the good, but anyway.
Okay, I was also going to start with the good, but you can do your good first.
I love that Zodiac is as high as it is. Unstoppable is actually really, really good, and it's also the last Tony Scott movie before Tony Scott tragically committed suicide.
Unstoppable is probably the coolest pick on here.
Yeah, and Quentin Tarantino is a longtime big Tony Scott fan. Obviously, they worked together on True Romance.
Hey,
so I think that's why
some
it's
of
there.
Quentin Tarantino's personal relationships are going to come up in this conversation.
Yeah. We all love Moneyball. I think West Side Story is also underrated. He's talking, of course, about the Spielberg one from a few years ago. Midnight in Paris slaps, Shaun of the Dead slaps, Mad Max slaps. So there are some really good. Dunkirk is good. I don't know if it's number 4 ever.
I think
good, but it's good.
I think Tarantino.
But it's also not ever. It's in the 21st century.
Yes,
right.
The idea is to fully define the list here.
It's 21st.
For anybody who's not paying attention to the ringer of it all, it is his top 20 films since 2000, and he can only have one from each
director. Yeah.
So like, as soon as Dunkirk is in, there are no other Christopher Nolan films in conversation.
He prefers that over Dark Knight, Interstellar, West Side Story. He prefers over AI, Minority Report, Munich.
Yeah. And I honestly, again, just talking about the good. I can understand like Dunkirk being on this list. I can understand a lot being on this list. I really only have issues with like two of the choices on this list. That's pretty much it.
There's a
Oh, I
lot
have
to
issues with
like
more
on
than
it.
two
I
of
Yeah.
the
have
choices.
one big issue. That's it.
Yeah. I can
Okay.
I can understand the issue with Black Hawk Down, but I haven't seen the movie personally to be able to relate to that issue.
It's an
Yeah.
incomprehensible movie.
I think it is very cool of Steven Spielberg's West Side Story to be on this list.
Mhm.
I think slotting it in at a number 20 is fine. But like Quentin Tarantino is such like his whole career having sort of been, hey, I'm gonna make my stuff. Like I'm gonna take sort of the stuff I was obsessed with in the weird corners of my fandom of cinema and like recreate it in my own way. Like Spielberg, I feel like sort of was, despite the Fablemans of it all, maybe sort of eschewing that or afraid of that or not quite chasing that same instinct for a lot of his career. And the West Side Story was always kind of battered around as, oh, maybe one day he'll make West Side Story, this film that he loved when he was a kid. And I feel like him making it, like I feel like I can imagine Tarantino just being like, yes, go for it, you madman, which like I would just really, really endorse. I also do like, I mean, Shaun of the Dead's always my favorite of
That
those.
is excellent.
So
Yep.
I like seeing that on the list. Deepak, you already called out Zodiac, which is like weirdly, I feel like a movie that doesn't. Zodiac is one of the best movies of the deck. Since the 2000, it is probably a top 10. It should be on any top 10 list of these films, and it's never called out, and I don't understand why.
Zero Oscar nominations.
Yeah, also that.
I mean, Moneyball's maybe my favorite sports movie.
Sure.
Yeah.
Tarantino also is fond of Brad Pitt.
Deepak, would you like to talk about Toy Story 3?
Toy Story 3 is a bad movie.
Okay.
Oh, that's an interesting take.
Let's have this conversation.
I wouldn't say it's a bad movie, but I would
would.
say it becomes a bad movie once Toy Story 4 comes out.
I don't even need Toy Story 4 to know that
Yeah,
Toy Story 3 is a
the-
bad movie.
This is your take, Bruno. I will say that when Toy Story 3 came out, I remember Deepak having fairly scalding. I don't even know if we had gotten there yet. I mean, Deepak, I would love for you to explore the space of this a little bit. Wasn't
Toy
sort
Story-
of your initial take that it's unnecessary?
It's not.
Yes.
It's not. Here's the thing. It does nothing other than regurgitate exactly what happens in the first two movies from a narrative standpoint. We get the toys separated from Andy. They go to this cool new place where there's a benevolent guy, like a head toy who seems like a good guy until he's not a good guy. The pink teddy bear is just the prospector all over again. Buzz thinks he's a space ranger again. It's all stupid crap all over again. It kind of vaguely gets to some semblance of an emotional response in the last 10 minutes. But then it's over and it doesn't matter. But my main beef over the years with Toy Story 3 is that was the movie that basically wrote the business plan for Disney over the last 15 years, which is that if we just take the stuff that people remember from the past and we repackage it and we put some shinier new graphics on it, we can sell it to them and they'll buy it to the tune of $1 billion, plus the merchandising, plus this is how we pass on these IPs to a new generation and they become legacies. So because of Toy Story 3 getting gobbled up by the idiot masses out there, no offense to anyone who liked it, you get the live action Disney remakes, you get the Star Wars sequel trilogy basically being a poor regurgitation of the original trilogy. You get everything that has been nostalgia porn from Disney over the last 15 years because of Toy Story 3.
And can I sort of jump on here as well, Deepak, because I do like Toy Story 3. I actually think I probably like it more than Toy Story 2, which I think most people sort of hold up as a high point of the genre. The genre of animation.
Toy Story genre?
The genre of animation.
No, Pixar, I think, can make a case to being its own genre.
Fair enough.
The actual quote from Tarantino is the last 5 minutes ripped my fucking heart out. And if I even try and describe the end, I will start crying and get choked up. I can't even do it.
And that's what everyone says.
He's talking.
That's the positive part of that movie.
Right. He's talking, of course, about after the toys have lived through their harrowing interaction with the dump. They almost, encounter
the Mustafar-like dump.
Fire.
Yeah.
Right. Yes. They are rescued and they are left with Bonnie and they find new life. And this is, of course,
the girl has a name?
Yes, her name's
Yes.
Bonnie.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like they even
I haven't seen it
I think
since the
they write
theater.
a new name on their shoes and shit.
Of course she
Yeah.
does. And this is Bruno, the thing that Tarantino loves about the film, that it ends with Bonnie being written on the shoe of Woody and there's like new life for this toy. And he finds that very compelling. This
Right.
is, I will say, a place where Quentin Tarantino and Deepak disagree. And everybody is free to take sides with whoever they want there. But Quentin Tarantino, as an artist, I would assert, is a little charmed by the notion of nostalgia. I would say that some of his films sort of like casually hint at the idea that he may find cinematic nostalgia and the like heart-tugging like persistence of like a vibe and the undying nature.
Yeah, like
of
his
like,
entire
the
last
story's
movie.
undying willingness to persist forward no matter what is like the thing that moves him to his core, right?
Yeah.
So like for him, Toy Story 3 like gives him the, I mean, sorry, I shouldn't say that. Toy Story 3 is very compelling narrative to him because I was going to say gives him the biggest hard on, but then it was a children's film. But I felt
yeah, but even then, he's ranked it as the number 2 movie of the last 25 years for the last 5 minutes of it.
Well, but he's done that because this is his whole thing. This is what he like. Everything you were just complaining about is what he loves about movies. Like, look at any Quentin Tarantino movie. That's all he fucking does.
Yeah.
Is like, hey, you remember when there was like blaxploitation was a movement that happened,
right? But he doesn't just
like romance or
it's
like.
There's a difference between taking inspiration from the past and kind of doing it in your own way, which is what Jackie Brown does to blaxploitation, or what Kill Bill does for Kung Fu, or whatever, right? Django does for even blaxploitation again to some extent, spaghetti western, all that, right?
Absolutely. Both
versus what Toy Story 3 is literally just doing from a narrative and plot standpoint, exactly what was done for the most part in Toy Story 2. And it's only because Toy Story 2 was in 1999 and Toy Story 3 was in 2010. There was an 11-year difference.
Your beef that it's a retread, I think, our mileage varies on, because I'm like, that's just what kids' sequel movies
It is
are.
the exact
like, if you're
same
just making
movie.
a sequel movie of it, like it's.
But it's the first legacy
they
sequel.
They're better as a family together, and Incredibles 2, they learn they're better.
Well, Incredibles 2 does not have the cachet of Toy Story, so I don't care as much about it. But Toy Story 3 is the first. Maybe it might be I think it is the first legacy sequel.
Okay, this is actually that's an interesting point.
It is the first. It is the first time we were a decade plus since the last one, and we're just gonna redo that because there are people now who are of a new age who have not seen it, and it'll be new for them.
But I would say, as like Quentin Tarantino, the businessman, again, probably like that's a feature, not a bug.
Yeah, I mean that's good. It's a bad opinion, but he can have it.
Bruno, you want to get upset about PTA?
Speaking of bad opinions.
Yeah, no, so like
this is the other big thing on this.
Sure.
We should be so. No, I was just gonna say we should be so upset that There Will Be Blood is at number 5. Like that's a thing that on paper what should have been a pass. We should have all walked away happy from that.
Yeah, no, like There Will Be Blood being at a 5 is like very reasonable. Like I could understand Dunkirk being above that. I could understand Lost in Translation being above that. I'm gonna stop right there. But like when it comes to like the arguments about why it's at number 5 and why at number 1, I'm just gonna read the quote that like Riley has posted here to the doc. Thank you for that, Riley. Daniel Day-Lewis, the old style craftsmanship quality to the film. It had an old Hollywood craftsmanship without trying to be like that. It was the only film he's ever done, and I brought it up to him, that doesn't have a set piece. The Fire is the closest to a set piece. Mm-hmm. This was about dealing with the narrative, dealing with the story, and he did it fucking amazingly. There Will Be Blood should stand a good chance at being at number 1 or number 2 if it didn't have a big, giant flaw in it, and that flaw is Paul Dano. I would just like to pause for a second and point out that one of my 4 favorite movies is Prisoners, specifically because of Mr. Dano.
Yeah, sure.
Resuming. Obviously, it's supposed to be a two-hander, but it's also drastically obvious that it's not a two-hander. Dano is weak sauce man. He is the weak sister. Austin Butler would have been wonderful in that role.
How?
Austin Butler was in Zoe 101 at the time.
I was about to say, how old would he have been at that time?
He's just such a weak, uninteresting guy. The weakest fucking actor in SAG. And then he laughed.
I'll just say to start off this conversation that my earliest memory of seeing Paul Dano on screen was I saw Little Miss Sunshine in my local art house theater in 2006.
Mm-hmm.
And when he realized he wasn't going to be able to qualify for the Air Force, and he went screaming out of that van.
Yeah.
I mean, I was a 15-year-old at that time. I was maybe a little bit primed for what Mr. Dano was offering up, but I have rarely felt so moved in a theater as when Paul Dano went screaming out of a van in Little Miss Sunshine. I knew then that kid was special. So, like, let's just get that out of the way right now. Nobody here is arguing about that.
He's one of AJ's dipshit friends in The Sopranos, too.
Yeah.
It goes all
He
the way
fucking
back.
rules in everything.
Here's
He's been
the
working
thing.
forever. This is a stupid take by Tarantino.
Well, here it's not just that it's stupid. It kind of reveals a fundamental misunderstanding of the text. And I start to wonder what Tarantino has watched, because isn't the point that Dano is weak next to Daniel Plainview?
Well,
Isn't it the point that Plainview kind of blows him off the screen and blows him out of the church every time except for that one scene where he kind of castigates him?
I'd say it points to something that we have been sort of subtly referencing, but maybe not saying explicitly, which is it feels like a lot of the positions on this list are informed by maybe his personal opinions of these people that he's worked with a lot.
Yeah, and this is where I would really like to dig into a thing that I'd actually like to get into that I don't know if anybody else is as... Please feel free to hop in on this if this isn't a totally exclusionary topic that I'm going out on a limb to talk to you about. But I'd like to get into the 1990s rivalry that existed between Quentin Tarantino and Paul Thomas Anderson. Now, if anybody is unaware...
It was like a friendly rivalry, right? They were friends.
Well, they were both fucking Fiona Apple, so I think that was a challenge.
Like friends do.
Oh.
Yeah.
Only in Hollywood.
And they were both taking a lot of coke and being romantic rivals about Fiona Apple. And I shouldn't say they were both fucking Fiona Apple. I don't know as a matter of fact or course who was or wasn't sleeping with anyone. But they both seemed to be romantically interested in Fiona Apple, and they were both coked up as hell, and they both seemed to have an artistic rivalry where they were kind of constantly talking about each other and trying to outdo each other. And let me say this. There are certainly people in the world, let's say this even. There are guys on the internet who will fall in line for both Paul Thomas Anderson and Quentin Tarantino. I think that you could look at those types of guys on either of those camps. I think you could look at the men themselves. And I think if you then looked at the relationship between Daniel Plainview and the Paul Dano character, whose name is it Paul?
He plays two characters. He plays
twin brothers, yes.
Yes, but we're really speaking about the Paul of it all, right?
One.
Eli. We're talking about Eli. Talking about Eli.
Yeah.
Eli. If we're talking about the relationship between Daniel Plainview and Eli Sunday in There Will Be Blood, and we're talking about the relationship between Paul Thomas Anderson and Quentin Tarantino in the 90s, I think a clear parallel sort of falls into place real quick, whereby Quentin Tarantino might feel uncomfortable watching a Paul Thomas Anderson movie and watching this guy just get absolutely cucked. I feel like that might sort of put him in a spot where he suddenly really doesn't like this Paul Dano guy and what he's bringing to the screen. And he's kind of maybe projecting a little bit now with his best of list, where he's like, and we all agree that guy sucked, right? He didn't get to lick any toes at all. And we're like, hey, Quentin, what are you talking about?
Yes, exactly. And I mean, there's other
monologue.
Like, I really like, and I appreciated you calling out Midnight in Paris. But I was surprised to see it on the list also.
Love it.
Great,
you know, it is, but
made
I don't
by
know that it's
very questionably terrible person.
Yeah. It's a good movie that might not be making most
greatest
people's lists.
American filmmakers of all time. So
sure, but I would say if most people are talking about the 21st century in American film, they might be, that might be the time to move a little forward in some ways. I think a lot of people's lists might not have a Woody in the top 20.
Two of his best movies were in this.
Or 10.
Midnight in Paris and
as well as two of his greatest sex offenses, right? Like, I mean, this is how you start to weigh these
things.
Those
were in the 90s. Let's get our timeline straight.
Love that he put Jackass on here. That was a good move by him.
That's a cool move. And School of Rock. There's a lot of shit that I love on this list.
All right. Our second story is another list, but anything we want to say about this list before we move on?
No, we can do the other list.
I just want to know what role Dano might have turned him down for that he's like held this.
Oh, that's interesting. What was Paul Dano?
Was Dano supposed to be Django and he said no, and then he had to cast a black guy?
Yeah, that was definitely it.
Yeah.
Well, okay, so let's see. So in 2000, he sees him in Little Miss Sunshine, let's say.
He wants to put him in
Inglourious
Bastards.
Bastards. He wants him in Inglourious
Who's he going to be in
Bastards.
Bastards?
Maybe he was supposed to be Charles Manson.
No, he's gonna be
Fassbender?
No, I was
No,
saying
you gotta
maybe
have
Paul
all the
Dano
language.
was gonna be Manson in Once Upon a Time.
No, there's that guy who only exists to play Manson in like Mindhunter in that movie.
That's
He's
fair.
like cornered the market on Manson.
See, the fact that he was in Mindhunter before that just makes me feel like
Manson
Quentin Tarantino just like recycled something really quick because he ran out of somebody.
Could he have done
What
the
is it?
Daniel Bruhl role?
If he knows German, I guess he could have.
I guess I don't. Well, he could learn German. He's a great actor.
He's an actor.
He's weak sauce, man. The weakest fucking actor in SAG.
All right, when we get back, lists about games.
So this means
I get a
Tarantino
list.
didn't like The Batman, he didn't like Prisoners, he didn't like The Fablemans.
He doesn't like anything he's in. Yeah, that's an interesting
Yeah.
take.
Well, he likes the movies, I guess, maybe, but he's just like, oh man, that movie would be amazing
So
except for
distracting.
fucking Paul Dano.
That keeps getting cucked.
I see him in me.
And we're back. And Jack, we're talking about a Rolling Stone list here of the top 25 video games of the year, which we wanted to spotlight sort of because of the love-hate relationship that our show sometimes has with the Game Awards, and just sort of passing the hat around a little bit more.
Yeah, I sent this in the chat after we talked about the Game Awards last week. I have my own controversial list of best ofs. This one's a little more selective, just looking at 2025. Rolling Stone has done this for a few years. And yeah, some of the omissions were causing up a bit of a tizzy. But I wanted to talk about the things on the list in general. So if you guys haven't taken a peek already, I'd recommend that you do. Some of these games we have talked about when we were talking about the Game Awards, but others we haven't. So, I mean, we'll get it out of the way. The number one is, unsurprisingly, Glare Obscure Expedition 33, which continues to be the dominant game of the year. So that's maybe unsurprising. But beyond that's where the list gets more interesting. I think the most controversial... Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Nope.
Okay.
I heard my name.
I think the most controversial omission from the list to start is that nowhere in the top 25 is Kingdom Come Deliverance 2, which is a Game of the Year nominee that has sort of, I think a lot of people who are fans of the game have been upset that it has been sort of disregarded as the boring history game.
It's very much the warhorse of this awards race.
Yes.
Essentially. That is a really good way of describing it.
I
Don't you want
also
to hold a
haven't.
sword in first person?
I also haven't played it yet for semi-similar reasons. Although seeing how much so many people have avidly defended it has made me want to check it out. And certainly the performances and seem good, and the graphics seem impressive. But it's just never seemed like my style. But so anyway. On a top 25 list, not having it anywhere was causing up a bit of a stir. People would expect it, I think, in like a top 10 list. But aside from that, there were a lot of things that I really liked and agreed with and wanted to highlight. So I will start from number one, and I'll work my way up and mention any that I want to. Number 2 on the list was Hades 2, which is probably also my number 2 game of the year. Hades 1 was phenomenal, and I think Hades 2 just expanded on it in very good and interesting ways. So I would recommend anyone check that out.
Not enough big apes for me.
Number 3 on the list, Riley, for you, is Big Ape Game. We've got Donkey Kong Bonanza from Nintendo, which I know you were really taken with. Do you have anything you wanted to say on it?
Oh, I just enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun to smash all the stuff and get the bananas.
Yeah, so this is Nintendo's sort of pseudo sequel to Mario Odyssey, where you explore around destructible environments and collect bananas instead of platforming around predefined levels and collecting moons. It was a lot of fun. I admittedly haven't gone back to it since they've added the new content. I really should, but there's too many things on the list.
Agreed.
I don't know that I would put it number 3 for my year, but it sounds like you would put it around there, if not higher, on yours, Riley.
I felt like this was a good positioning.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Having not played Hades 2 and only having started playing Clair Obscur, I was like, yeah, sure, Donkey Kong Bonanza can be number 3.
You've become such a Donkey Kong fan over
Well,
this
of course,
last year.
he is great and wonderful, but I think that there is
Big Seth Rogen guy.
That's absolutely true.
That's why, yeah.
I think there's a handicap sometimes with certain Nintendo games, which is probably unfair. And of course, things like Breath of the Wild are the exception that prove the rule, right? But sometimes I'm sort of like charmed by it. Like, I feel like that's the peak that sometimes Nintendo can reach for me, is like, oh, that was cute.
Yeah, I agree thoroughly. They've got the polish.
And there's nothing wrong with that at all.
Speaking of polish,
yeah,
number 4 on the list for you, Bruno, is Dispatch. I know you were similarly taken with this game.
Yes, sir. I will admit this. Like, despite how much I love the game, I am very, very surprised with how high up on the list it is.
Number 4 is very high.
Yeah.
It is sort of an interactive TV show. That has always been Telltale's gimmick in a way. And it is not a Telltale game. It is an ad hoc game, and their first one, but it is made up by a lot of people from the same studio.
Right.
I think some of the notable things about Dispatch are really how good it looks, especially compared to the old Telltale proprietary engine that they were sort of forced to use.
Yeah. And I'll also add just counter deal Telltale approach of just being 100% a digital novel.
Yeah.
Dispatch does have the benefit of having its dispatch simulator portion, which is actually a lot of fun. Probably the most fun
that is what I was going to say. They do also have more substantial gameplay elements if you're less of a click on the dialogue option and read a lot of text sort of a gamer.
Oh, that's interesting. I was probably just preparing to jump into Dispatch and was very fine with the click on the dialogue and read a lot of text, but that'll be.
I don't know. Yeah, this does have some. It's like a whole genre. It's sort of hard to describe.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I look forward to learning more.
Like the dispatcher genre is a thing, but it's odd. Anyway,
I'll say I was kind of surprised that number 6 smuggled itself in as high as it did.
Yeah. So number 6 is Blueprints, which is the indie virtual board game exploration title that we all got very taken by early in the year. I certainly put in my, I think, 40 or 50 hours in the Blueprints before I put it down, which is nothing compared to some people. It is a shockingly long game for how simple it appears on its surface.
I wish I had my notebook handy just to show how intensive the game actually is.
I mean, I do think, not to spoil it, but I think a part of the point of the way the whole thing is set up is that it doesn't want you to believe that it even ends.
Yeah.
So it's a very interesting little piece. I agree. I was very charmed by it at first, and I've soured on it a little bit. I don't know that I love the whole not trying to fool everyone into thinking you don't have a real ending of it all. I kind of like endings in my games.
I heard one video game critic describe it as a game made by someone who hates video games, and since I've heard that, I kind of haven't been able to get it out of my mind.
Yeah, it's an odd duck, but I have thought about it more than maybe any other game on this list, and that's got to be worth something.
Now, listen, speaking of games we've thought about a lot and not engaged with maybe as much, I still haven't even started Death Stranding 2, and I'm still indignant it's number 8 on the list.
Well, have you finished Death Stranding 1? When 2 came out, I know you were trying to get through 1 first.
Well, this was the thing. I made a big decision, which was I was like, 2's about to come out. I never really played 1. I false started it many times, but enjoyed it enough. And now we're on to the new hardware and stuff, and I'll get 2 and I'll just sort of play 2. But then 1 had been up-res for the, high res for the PS5, and I thought, well, let's really go for it and let's have the full narrative experience. This is such a narrative game. And I've been chugging along. I have, Donkey Kong came out. That was a big distraction, for example. I've been kind of touch and go with 1 for a while, but I feel like it's kind of been the game I keep coming back to, and I'm going to get through it. And I'm excited to play 2. People seem to be losing their gourds about it, and I can't wait to connect Australia or find out why connection was a mistake or whatever it is that's going to happen.
Never have connected.
I'm also still
we're connecting Australia.
I'm also simultaneously sort of like experiencing the Troy Baker of it all in the press clippings and stuff, and also staying spoiler free. Like I'm walking a weird tightrope with Death Stranding 2 that is maybe uh, as much fun as I could have without playing it.
Yeah, well, I definitely think that 2 is bigger, and I think most people would say better in most ways than the first game. The story is even more insane somehow. It's about 70 hours long as a game, and much like Death Stranding 1, a lot of Hideo Kojima's work. I think what's so charming about it is how earnestly this is one man's entire like creative vision just exploding out onto a canvas.
Well, and
And
for the Deepaks amongst our listeners who might not be as familiar with the game itself, it is sort of like one man's creative endeavor, like is kind of written into the text of it, right?
Yeah.
Like both the Death Stranding games are kind of like 70-hour walking simulators where you play as a FedEx guy in like the post-apocalypse, and you start by having to like individually control the balance of legs and slowly build up to like having infrastructure built and vehicles and a chain of bases that you can use to refill and supply and defend yourself and all that. But it is very much like this is one guy like
and also
willing,
it's maybe about what he thinks it means to die.
right? Yeah, like willing this world into existence and also maybe regretting all of that, which also sort of feels like it's maybe Hideo Kojima's experience making video games.
Yeah. So I do agree. I think Death Stranding 2, I mean, it's not going to be for everyone. I would probably put it higher than 8. I haven't even heard of number 7 on their list, but I'm glad to see it represented. It's such a weird thing, and I'm excited for him to keep making more. What else do we got? A lot of these that I did talk about on the Game Awards section last podcast, if people want to check out my discussion of things like South of Midnight or Hollow Knight Silksong, Mario Kart World.
Also surprised with like the somewhat high position that South of Midnight had on the list.
Yeah, they put South of Midnight at number 11, which, to be honest, I do have some gameplay criticisms for South of Midnight.
That is
Very
mainly why
visually
why I was confused about it being at number 11.
What? Okay, actually, I would love to hear what those are.
Mostly, it's sort of boring. Like the combat is just sort of not very interesting, and is most of the game.
For me, it's the combat that wasn't interesting. It also had to do a lot of the level design. There were a lot of portions in levels that I found when I was exploring that I was like, oh, they clearly planned something for this, but ran out of time, and then just like patched it up so that we won't access it.
Holes or something. Yeah, interesting. I was kind of torn on whether or not I thought the animation worked. I kind of felt like I was dropping frames.
I think it looks really good.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
didn't have animation issues.
But like the sort of decision that they had made to kind of like stylize it like it was a storybook, I just felt like on my TV sort of played like I had dropped frames every couple like battle sequences or whatever.
That's another like all of my criticisms that I have about the game, and like again, not to like,
I loved it. I thought it was I thought the art style was good.
I really think the game was great, but I do think a lot of the criticisms boil down to the fact that it like I think they just ran out of time and just wanted to get this out.
That's what so many of these Microsoft studios ended up having.
Exactly.
Why is it so hard to finish a video game?
The issue falls upon the studio because like the intro cinematic to like South of Midnight implies that the whole game is going to be in that animation style, at least when it comes to the cutscenes. And then they're just like, nope, just immediately scrap that.
Feedback, I think it's just not. I think it's an institutional problem. I think just, we've talked about crunch in the past. It's just the culture of the industry that like we will ship it when it ships, right? Like we're not going to push a deadline if we can get something that will work out the door.
I mean, is this, I get what you're saying, that it's analogous to, the studio has the release date and we're going to meet the release date no matter what.
But you don't get a lot of snowmen, right?
Right.
And the problem
but we see like GTA has been pushed, Cyberpunk got pushed for years. So where is the fulcrum at which we decide that we're going to keep going and we're going to delay it, or we're just going to meet the release date and, like Bruno's saying, this super interactive world is just going to have a big wall here where there was stuff that you were supposed to see and we're just not going to finish it. Because 2004 Spider-Man 2, the big deal was Spider-Man could go around New York and he could go anywhere and talk to anyone, and this was 20 years ago. Why is it that much? I don't know, whatever. Games are dumb.
Jack, I didn't know if you had any thoughts on that.
I mean, I think it's a scale issue, and like, as the budgets of certain games that have to be sort of these tentpole franchises for an entire developer get bigger and bigger, becomes more important that they deliver on that. Like, and that's like Game of Thrones, GTA. Whereas, and Riley, you are right that South of Midnight was a studio that Microsoft snatched up.
Yeah.
And that they have taken a very different strategy, which is a much more of like a throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. And so I do think Microsoft, like, it's going to be on a studio by studio basis, which of these economical directions you tend towards. So, like, I don't think Microsoft would push Halo out the door, for example.
Right. So we talk about how there's going to be some sort of a reckoning in the movie industry about how these budgets have gotten completely out of control and nothing is profitable because, like, we talked about Rise of Skywalker, and this week they talked about Deadpool and Wolverine actually cost like $539 million.
Right.
Even though it made 1.1, 1.2, you whittle it all down, they actually made some money off it, a couple $100 million. The budgets are still too big for this to be sustainable moving forward.
Mm-hmm.
Where is that reconciliation happening in the video game industry, or is it happening at all?
Post-unionization.
Yeah,
I would say.
Like, I know that we've been gravitating more towards the indie games because they're offering, more creativity and it's sort of a lower budget.
Yeah. Well, and we're talking about all this issue, but this is a huge part of why Claire Obscure was put so high on the list, is that it is sort of in defiance of all of these trends. Mm-hmm. It's like a firmly mid-budget kind of a game.
It's the old AA game that Fred used to preach about. Direction. Fred, every time we would get one of these AA games, Fred Neighbor would be on here screaming about how we need more of these to save the industry. Games that like cost a reasonable amount so that a studio is not freaking out and delaying it until it's perfect, but also cost enough that they're not like, this is your fucking date and you better hit it, right? Like, and sort of allow the art and the bit. I mean, this is the same problem we were talking about at the beginning with the Mad Men stuff, right? Allow the art and the business to find a synergy where they both agree on how important it is, but want to see a finished product.
But the market has obviously shown that it can support these kinds of games, right? Like last year, you guys were talking about I forget the name, but it was the poker game.
Well, that's totally different.
It was way smaller.
That's totally different.
Why is that totally different? I mean,
like there's one guy.
Yeah.
Oh, so that is not like a team. Okay.
Yeah, so every once in a while we will get one of these, right? A Senua's Sacrifice was
I mean,
a couple of years ago.
Even this year we're talking about Hades 2, which everyone's going to call an indie because it's a sequel to Hades, but Hades made a lot of money, and I am positive that Hades 2 had a sizable budget behind it.
Yeah, right. Exactly. As opposed to like a Desplote, right? Which is like a
There's no way that GTA 6 makes back its money. So at what point do the companies say...
Deepak, GTA 6 is going to be a gambling machine, is what it's going to be.
This is the thing.
With all the loot crates and microtransactions.
None of the incentive structures are what you think they are, right? Where no one's making money on a video game by selling a disc at GameStop anymore.
Yeah, they're selling the stuff within the game.
Yeah.
Right.
That's certainly how specifically GTA 6 is going to make back all of its money. Because it's going to be there for 15 years selling people content.
You can get $15 a month. You can get GTA 6 online, and also every 3 months we're going to push another expansion pack to this, that, or the other thing that you can pay 10. I mean, legitimately more, and you can literally gamble in the game, and we will get your money when you lose.
I mean, Fortnite's whole business model is like you buy a subscription to Fortnite, and it gets you the content, and like you have to renew that on what they call a seasonal basis, and I would not be surprised if GTA adopts a similar model.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm never
going to
let my son play a video game. In case.
Most anticipated game 2 years in a row.
Bruno, do you want to talk about Desplote before we leave, just so that we can end on like a nice indie plug rather than how the industry's dying?
No, like guys, if you ever just want to have a really, really, really good time and just like learn about like your little neighborhood, learning about playing some soccer, have some like food with some friends, go play Despelote. It's just like a really good
I love indie games. They're so cute.
casual game. And yes, like people need to make more games like this. So
I was
good
only
back.
going to say before we ended this, because we were talking about some game being higher on the list than we expected. South of Midnight. A game that was lower on the list than I expected or would have wanted was The Seance of Blake Manor, which I feel like sort of went under the radar a little bit, but it is a very interesting little point and click adventure where you run around a manor and all of your clicks in the point and click of the game progress time in real time. So you have to decide what actions you want to take. You can't just click on everything on the screen. You need to be thinking about it. I think it's a real neat wrinkle to throw into that genre.
Yeah.
Agreed. All right. Show's over. So on the other side of this break, we're ending it. That's it for this week's Nerdy Here Weekly. Thank you so much for listening. We want to remind you that there's more shows coming up in the future. If you've made it this far, we'll let you know that there's some big news for the site coming soon. So you will want to make sure you are subscribed here, either on our website, nihf.com, on our podcast at Nerdy Here Weekly, wherever you get podcasts, or on our YouTube, youtube.com/@NerdyHereFirst. Any of those places work, but make sure you are subscribed so that you don't miss the big announcement that will be coming next week. Shh, it's a surprise. In the meantime, we want to let you know that we will be having an awards season preview coming up here in the next couple of weeks. And I think maybe if we can time it right, releasing on Christmas Eve, our big holiday movie extravaganza featuring the Hallmark Channel. So look for all that coming soon in a podcast feed near you. You don't want to miss that. Make sure you subscribe to our stuff at Nerd It Here First, NIHF.com, youtube.com/@NerdItHereFirst. All right. Housekeeping done. Time for pop culture recommendations. These are things we've been watching, reading, eating, playing, or listening to that we've enjoyed recently, and we think you'll like too. And this week we're going to start with Riley. Y'all, I saw Knives Out, Wake Up Dead Man, and I enjoyed it quite a bit. I do think, as I said, we'll talk about it more in the coming weeks, but I think that it might have been the best, I think it might have given Craig most to do with the Benoit Blanc character. We've certainly come a long way from the donut hole days, which I did enjoy quite a bit. But he was like considering the face of God or whatever, so it was sort of a different lane for the man. I really found myself torn. On the one hand, I was like, 3 movies would be clean. We've sort of done it, and it's kind of funny that he got to make 3 of them. On the other hand, I do kind of just want there to be a billion of these things. So, whatever. I'll definitely take more if there's more. But Wake Up Dead Man. Look out for my review with KB coming soon, and also our Benoit Blancapalooza coming to this feed soon. Next, let me throw to Jackson.
For the month of December 2025, if you have Hitman: World of Assassination, you can play a new elusive target where you help Eminem assassinate Slim Shady.
Yeah, you do.
Hitman does elusive targets with celebrities semi-regularly, so that part's less surprising, but I really find this plotline humorous. I think this is a good bit.
I remember
it's a great tie-in to the Death of Slim Shady album that came out about this time last year.
People are not aware. This is sort of a thing he's doing.
Yeah, he's killing him.
And I love these games, and so I like this way more than the Conor McGregor collab.
I do still think you can still kill Jean-Claude Van Damme and Bruce Lee. I think both those opportunities are still out there for you.
I think the JCVD is semi-permanent, and I think Bruce Lee is temporary, but still up. But those are all good, and I am still waiting on the Pitbull mission, where you get to be Pitbull, because he looks like Pitbull.
This is Mr. Worldwide Pitbull?
That's the only celebrity that I really want.
Mr. Worldwide coming soon. Deepak, what you got?
Tarantino was a big fan of where you get to kill Bruce Lee, I heard. My pop culture recommendation is a book. I have started reading Project Hail Mary in anticipation of the movie coming out next year. Mr. Spoilerphobe, of course, just bought 400 pages of spoilers, so that's what I'm working through. Working through a bunch of books that I ordered this Prime Day, Black Friday time frame, and I will bring those on the show as and when I'm reading them. But that's what I'm working through right now.
Amazing. And Bruno, finish us out strong, bud.
5 seasons in a movie, or depending how pissed off the fan is, they may say 4 seasons and 8 movies. I have begun Volume 1 of Stranger Things 5, and it has gone off to a really, really good start so far. It's pretty much just the exact same vibes that you expect from Stranger Things, doing a lot of return to form, which is what people have been asking for. Episode 3 of this first batch is directed by Frank Darabont, and it really, really shows as you're going through the episode. It is probably my favorite of the batch so far, and it is like very much a Stranger Things in a nutshell episode. So like, it has a little bit of everything for everybody. So I've been very much enjoying it, and had a very, very satisfying conclusion slash setup to the second batch, which comes out on Christmas. The first episode of which will also be a Frank Darabont episode. So yeah, I'm getting really excited for Stranger Things this year.
Maybe it'll end this time.
I'm really glad to hear that you enjoyed it, Bruno, because I have heard mostly negative reviews of Stranger Things Series 5, but I also feel like I value your opinion more than the opinion of most of the people I've heard from
A
so
random
far.
person online.
A very surprising person was staying with us when that happened to drop on Netflix, and woke up that morning and was like, "Are you guys watching Stranger Things today?" And I was like, "Father-in-law, what are you talking about?"
Amazing. This has been Nerded Here Weekly. Thank you so much for listening. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to this podcast wherever you find it. I'd recommend YouTube or our youtube.com/@nerdedherefirst or our website, nihf.com. Thank you to Wiki Rascals for our logo and artwork. Thank you to Purple Planet for our intro music. Thank you to Bruno Meneses for editing and producing this show. And thank you to you for all that you do to help us keep it going. We make the show so that you can enjoy it. If you like the show, we hope you'll share it or just give us a like or a subscribe or whatever. All that stuff you can do helps really wherever you find the show. We really appreciate it. And as always, don't forget to tune in next week to hear